Hi, this is Roshan here, and I will be talking about TIBCO BW, which is Business Works, and why it is used and what are the various features. So, the table of contents for today's introduction or the demo class would be what is TIBCO Business Works, how it is used, why it is used, and the next would be what is XML and what are XML activities and its roles. There will be different types of palettes called the parse palette, file palette, HTTP palette, and JDBC palette, which we use during the process creation. And there will be other roles and introductions to different types of activities involved in TIBCO BW. So coming to TIBCO Business Works, what is TIBCO Business Works? As we all know, it is an integration software. Now, what is integration software? Okay, so I'll give you an example. If we are creating a business or a banking application, we all know there will be a lot of applications involved in the banking process. So each and every developer will create a separate application for the banking process. Okay, now the question arises is how do we integrate all of these processes or the applications created by different users? So TIBCO BW comes into picture. So what TIBCO BW will do is it will integrate all the applications together and help us deliver a single piece of work to the client. Okay, I hope it is clear. Okay, so see, as I told, it is a integration or a interaction. It manages interactions between different applications and databases. Also, it allows the automation of business process. So since TIBCO BW is running, okay, it is a small application today, but in future it could be a large application. So TIBCO Business Works helps us to build an application which could be modified again later in the future. It's kind of a agile process. Okay, and it helps us to manage transactions, web services, handle exceptions, and reports errors. Also, the next question which would be arising is how do we use databases or different applications? Okay, don't worry, TIBCO BW or the TIBCO Business Works provides plugins for application connectivity. Okay, and also it provides interface for the administrator, the TIBCO admin, to monitor and manage processes and application resources. Okay, so the next thing is the benefits of TIBCO BW. Okay, so we all know if we are trying to create a file or read a file in Java, so we need to write couple of lines of codes to get a single piece of work. However, TIBCO Business Works, it just helps us to pick and drag and drop feature in creating a process. So since it is a drag and drop, we don't have to write much codes. We don't have to write any codes. Therefore, it reduces the amount of time and effort to develop and deploy the business activities. Okay, so as you can see on the screen on the left hand side, it is they have just used a start and end, which is a basic function that you have to use. Later we have included a file palette called read file, and it will read as a text, and whatever um, file you want to read, just save it or create a file and then it will read accordingly. So it's a very easy process to go ahead and work with TIBCO BW. So as I told, it will accelerate the application development and deployment cycle, and it is also capable of integrating any IT resource virtually. Okay, so there are a lot of features and applications and definitions of TIBCO BW which we will study down the lane. Okay, so there are few features of TIBCO BW which provides us built-in tool for defining the XML schemas. Okay, so XML schemas are nothing but what kind of process will be involved. It will have all the information in that particular XML schema sheet. Okay, so it helps in defining the XML schema, parsing and rendering capabilities. Okay, and it supports leading standards and protocols including the HTTP or the HTTPS file transfer protocol, Java database connectivity, TCP, and Java messaging services. Okay, so next is XML. So as I told, it is designed to describe the data of the process, and the software and hardware is independent of the language for carrying the information. Okay, any file, any machine can read this XML file. So one of the most important technologies for business integration for both inside and across the enterprise is the XML activities, is the XML file. So next comes the XML activities. So XML activities consist of few activities which are parse XML. So this parse XML, it processes a binary XML file or a string file and turns it into a schema, XML schema based on the XSD which is specified. Okay. The next is render XML. So takes an instance of the XML schema element and renders it as a stream of bytes containing the XML or a XML string. So this might sound little difficult, okay, but as we do the or go ahead do the work on the TIBCO BW file, so we'll have a hands-on experience and these things will become very easy. So there is nothing to worry about now. And coming to the next thing, as I told you, there will be a lot of palettes that we will need to create in the process. So some of it are like parse palette. So parse palette is it consists of like the data format of the palette, the parses data, render data. Okay, and the next thing which comes is EMS, which is one of the most important service of TIBCO BW. In EMS, so first of all, what is EMS? EMS is a enterprise messaging service which allows different systems to communicate with each other. Okay, so this is an implementation of Java messaging service, and it also obeys the Java message service specifications. So basically it is used for communication between different applications. Next thing which comes is the benefits of EMS. So we know that it reduces the cost and complexity of integrating different systems. However, it also increases the flexibility and promotes greater service reuse. Okay, and now coming to the different types of palettes. One of them is the file palette, which consists of like copy file, create file, file polar, list files, add or remove files, etc., etc. So as we'll continue the classes, we'll go ahead and learn about each of them simultaneously. Okay. The next topic is group and HTTP palette. This is used for various HTTP receiving, send, request, response. So it basically deals with HTTP services. Okay, so the next topic is groups. So why do we need groups? So groups are used to segregate a certain action together, and it is used for iterations. So basically if we want to repeat a process for 10 times, we will go ahead and use a group action. Okay, so group action consists of various actions like iterate, repeat until true, transaction, pick first, while, true, if, etc., etc. We will be continuing in the next sessions. Okay, and coming to the other important specification or the activity is the mapper activity, which is a synchronous activity which adds a new process variable to the process. Okay, so this is not difficult as it sounds, but you know why it is used. For example, it is used to convert a XML structure into another XML structure. Like it can be used to write your logics of that process that you are trying to do. So you can see when we open the mapper function, you will have configuration, output editor, output, error output. So here, uh, inside the group there are like customer first name, last name, age, gender, etc, etc. So you will have an option to go ahead and map it to the input, so whatever input you are trying to give, right? So this is just the a blank file, like fill in the blanks kind of thing. And while using the mapper you will have to map the process data to the activity input. For the first name you will map it to name, last name you will map it to name again, age to age, gender to gender, and you can give inputs right here in the activity input. Okay, like you can see how it is mapping. Just drag it from the process data and drop it to the activity input. So this is easy, there's nothing to worry about in this. And there are few other activities which we will be doing it in the next class. Just feel free to post your questions, and let's meet in the next class. Thank you, have a great day.